I don't want no oil, a spoil in my shoreline. I like fish much better than crud. I like birds and things, a-creeping and crawling. Won't trade no more oil for blood. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that black demon oil's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. I don't want them nukes run by them kooks who think radioactivity is fun. No more three-headed frogs or kids with leukemia. Nuclear power ain't fit for a dog. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that nuclear power's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. No nukes!
Good morning, Toledo, and good afternoon, Columbus, and hello to everyone in Bowling Green or listening on the internet wherever or whenever you may be. My name is Joseph D. DeMare, and I'm here with my jocular co-host,
Rebecca Wood.
For the next hour, we're going to take a look at the global and local state of the environment in our fantastic program, For a Green Future. For a Green Future is a show where we talk about ecology and the environment, and we talk about them in the ways they affect you, your wealth, your health, your happiness, and the wealth and health and happiness of your friends and family, and the health and happiness of the aeroplankton which are floating around in the upper atmosphere near the edge of space, the birds which have been seen flying as high as 7 miles up, the flying and gliding mammals which fly hundreds of feet into the air, all us critters that live down here on the surface, the worms and arthropods and other animals that can live dozens of feet below the earth, and the bacteria that can be found up to 2 miles underground, because no matter where you are in the biosphere, we're all wrapped up together on this beautiful planet called Earth.
I just learned, like, yesterday, crazily enough, that there's such a thing as aeroplankton. I did not know this.
Aeroplankton, yeah.
I thought they were all in the waters. They're not.
The amount of adaptation that has to happen for life to happen miles above the surface, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, for the next 15 minutes or so, we're just going to chat a bit about some of our ecological observations for the week. And then we have an intense interview with 2 of the thousands of protesters who are already in New York City for the March to End Fossil Fuels protest that is happening this Sunday, September 17th at 1 p.m. Actions and events have already started there, including an Extinction Rebellion action where protesters marched around New York City naked, and numerous other protests that have led to arrests at places like the corporate headquarters of BlackRock, a company heavily invested in fossil fuel. After that interview comes messages from our incredible sponsors and patrons. Then it will be time for Rebecca's contribution to the show. Rebecca, what are you talking about this week?
We're going to be talking about the connection of the Jewish high holidays and environmentalism and the change of the seasons and nature in general.
Ooh, that'll be interesting.
I'm hoping.
After we hear from Rebecca, we have some ecological news from around the world. There were so many important news stories this week, we had a very difficult time winnowing out the most vital ones to share with you, but we tried our best. We've also been trying to keep you updated about the Canadian wildfires. This data is as of September 6th. It looks like there may have been a small drop in fire intensity. The total number of fires has dropped from 640 to 633, a little bit. What is that, 1%? So we're getting there.
But still, like last week, weren't they still building?
They were still
so that's nice. They're not getting worse.
There have been some rains in parts of the country. Unfortunately, the number of out-of-control fires has increased a little bit also, from 255 to 257. Over the course of the whole ordeal, more than 250,000 people have had to evacuate, and there have been 6 confirmed deaths so far, though likely that number is far higher. More than 16 million hectares have burned. That's an area approaching the size of the state of Wisconsin, more than 6 times the area that burns during an average fire season. It's a little harder to stay concerned about the Canadian wildfires, since the winds are no longer carrying the smoke all the way down our way. In fact, we've been having absolutely wonderful weather here in Northwest Ohio. It's been about 70 degrees, often sunny, without too much wind or rain. We've been going on walks with our beautiful dog Ursula without needing a coat, umbrella, or hat. It's been almost idyllic.
Yeah, I did a little walking myself the other day, partly because the bus benches are so far from my house, but it turned out kind of fun. I live a few blocks from this gorgeous old cemetery that apparently is a Class 2 arboretum. No, I don't know whether 1 or 3 is high, but it's almost as good as the top level. Yeah. But yeah, so I was walking through there the other day, and a lot of goldenrod, little chicory, and I saw 2 hawks, a heron, and something that may have been a grebe.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was
A
exciting.
rare sighting.
Yeah.
We've got an arboretum here in Bowling Green also. It's a little small, it's just a patch of grass and trees, but it's still nice to have a little bit of evidence of the biodiversity and tree species around.
So yeah, and because it's been nice lately, lately I've been going down to the cemetery sometimes to journal a little bit and things.
Sure, self-reflection.
And while I was there, I wrote a poem, which I'm trying to find the first page of. There we go. Yeah, I've had trouble thinking of a name for this, but it's kind of about how, as someone who actually had ancestors on the Mayflower, I've been a colonizer from way back, there's no hope that it was anything else, really. But but on the other hand, also growing up in 4 different states, I'm not really from any one place, but,
Sure.
And yet I felt kind of ties with everywhere I've been in this country, lived or just traveled through. So this is called Song of the Cuckoo. Everywhere I have been, the land spoke to me, in broad cornfields, serene waves that deal pleasure or death, like a pet tiger with only a faint tail twitch, a minute change in eye shape to warn of altered mood. In brushy autumn seed heads sprouting from rocky roadsides, and masses of smothering vines engulfing weathered gray structures and covering the earth's bloody wounds, in gracious sloping banks fringed in green and gold, trimming the selvage between plowed dirt and stately gurgling channels, and copper, sapphire, and jade, mirrored sky punctuated with lively, bustling dash over rocks, like an old mule kicking and snorting in remembered glee, in deep-rooted yellow grass, running on to the jagged stone horizon, and red soil, emoting a delicate opalescent haze of pale green and lavender. It sung like an aria in an unknown language, meaning everything and nothing, full of lore and silence.
Wow.
So that was fun. I had written for a while.
Nice, encapsulation of the changing of seasons.
Yeah.
Also, unfortunately, as opposed to here, where we can describe our climate in flowery language, the weather in the rest of the world has been far from blissful. In the first part of September, there were 8 terrible floods in 11 days that were all caused by torrential downpours. You probably heard about the most terrible in terms of human deaths. That happened in Libya, where dam failures killed an estimated 10,000 people.
Ooh, double plus on good.
Yes. However, there were also floods in Greece, Turkey, Brazil, Spain, China, Hong Kong, and in the United States in the Southwest. You might have also heard about the storm in the Southwest. That's the one that caused flash flooding in Nevada and stranded 70,000 people at the Burning Man festival in the Black Rock Desert. It's a little bit ironic that the Burning Man festival sees thousands of cars and trucks lined up and stuck in the mud because of a global warming-induced storm. Because of global warming, there's more moisture in the air, both because warmer air can hold more water and because CO2 is better at holding water vapor. This means that when the rain does fall, it's more likely to happen as a deluge that triggers floods like these we've been having.
Wow.
The most recent floods happened on 4 different continents, but again, it's just a taste of what's to come. There'll also come a time when even those of us here in beautiful Northwest Ohio won't be able to enjoy our blissful weather quite so much. Longtime listeners to the show know there's something else that causes us bliss here at For a Green Future. That's when they shut down a nuclear power plant. The number of operable nukes in the US has been falling, slowly but steadily, as they finally wear out and get past their lifetime expectancies. We count each closure as a win for future generations, as it means that much less nuclear waste they have to deal with. Unfortunately, corrupt politicians see nuclear power plants as a gravy train for themselves. Hard to argue against, since we found out that the now jailed former Speaker of the Ohio House, Larry Householder, was given over $60 million in bribes by the nuclear power industry. And the Biden administration and the politicians and corporations in Michigan have been conspiring to steal back the bliss we felt when the Palisades nuclear plant was finally closed after decades of failing machinery, leaks, and risks of meltdown. This past week, the owner of the plant, Holtec, which we've spoken about in other stories also, and the Wolverine Cooperative announced that they have reached a deal to reopen the Palisades plant. Specifically, Wolverine agreed to buy most of the power a reopened Palisades would generate. The pro-nukers are ecstatic. Never mind that reopening a decommissioned nuclear plant has never been attempted before. Also, disregard that it will take tens of billions of dollars to refurbish it. Both the federal and state governments have pledged to throw billions of dollars down the Palisades hole. It's possible, maybe even probable, that this is just a scam. We have to remember that Holtec is a corrupt corporation. It's been convicted of bribing government officials. It's currently in court over allegations that it lied to investors about the company's value in order to scam them out of their precious dollars. And it continues to try to dump radioactive water into Plymouth Bay, the Hudson River, and Lake Michigan. Finally, and not least importantly, it's been convicted numerous times of violating environmental laws. It looks like Holtec has simply devoured the Wolverine Power Cooperative. There was some very important information left out of the overall glowing press reports of the deal, so we called Wolverine themselves and spoke to a company spokesperson. We asked them how much the power from a zombie Palisades reactor would cost. Their response to us: the two parties aren't disclosing terms of the agreement to the public because it's a private business deal.
Okay, wait a minute. It doesn't involve some kind of public money, though?
It does. This is the
but
power.
We're not allowed to. We need to mind our own business and not ask where our money's going. Alrighty.
This is the power that the customers will be buying, yes.
Okay,
So,
whether we like it or not, yeah.
the real reason is most likely that the power will be many times more expensive for the Wolverine Power Cooperative customers than real, actual clean energy sources like wind or solar. When secret backroom deals are made with the nuclear industry, the public always loses. The other question we asked their spokesperson was, how long does the purchase agreement run? We were told that it's a multi-decade agreement. This fact, more than any other we've found about this deal, proves that Wolverine was just taken to the cleaners by Holtec.
But don't get all nosy about where your money's going.
Yeah.
That's the important lesson here. You know?
The electricity market right now is extremely volatile. In just a few years, the cost of electricity from wind and solar has dropped by over 90%. Battery storage prices are similarly dropping. And of course, wind turbines and solar panels continue to become more and more efficient as technology improves. Locking your company, your collective, into a multi-decade agreement to buy nuclear power is literally the worst business decision the Wolverine Cooperative could have made. They're supposed to be making decisions that benefit their consumers, but our sympathies go out to our Michigan listeners who will face outrageous electricity bills because of this decision. Hello, and welcome to For a Green Future. Could we start with both of your names and how far you've traveled to be at the protest?
אני בוז'ו וז'יין מקדי מקוואן דודם, אני שנאבי and Dunjaba, Mekanakaji anyway, Gina Peltier and Disney Cause. For short, I'm Blackfoot Killan, the Anishinaabe band of Chippewa. My name is Gina Peltier, and I came all the way from North Dakota to New York City to bring awareness to this climate chaos we are facing.
Okay, I'm Charlotte Loonfoot. I am from Baraga, Keweenaw, Ojibwe tribe from Michigan, on Lake Superior. I am Wabananique, Ajajakodem, Keweenaw, and Nujaba. And then I am fighting the Alliance over there, and I've been fighting them since 2010, Rio Tinto, and all their subsidiaries, people, my companies.
Great. So you're all in the big city. What kinds of climate protests are you seeing right now, 3 days before the official event?
We are seeing peaceful disruptions. And it's really enlightening to see because we have the community coming up to us and embracing us and asking us why we are here. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share all the information that we have to inform them about what's going on and what they need to do to help save our world. Yeah. So the protests have been very peaceful on our part. That is how we conduct ourselves in a very peaceful manner. Unfortunately, we've had some Citibank workers brutalize the protesters. So
wow.
Sorry.
That's terrible.
Yeah. It's super scary, and they're recovering from that, but we're still going to move forward. We take care of each other, and on top of that too, there's the forgiveness, because we know that they have been indoctrinated into thinking in a certain way of life that is very harmful, and that's why we're here. We're here to educate them, and to bring awareness to the impeding climate chaos we are facing. It's very scary, but we got to do what we got to do to bring awareness. Climate scientists predicted with breathtaking accuracy the destruction these fossil fuels companies were going to cause with using fossil fuels. And they stole the money from the American people and used that to dispute the science. And these same scientists say that we have less than 10 years to make a drastic change. And so we really do have to come together and band together and take down these huge CEOs and executives and investors who pour billions each year into fossil fuels. And they're just responsible, for this climate crisis in the fossil fuel industry. So if everyone can recognize what's going on, we can band together and we can stop it and change the world for the better, right, crew? I'm sorry, I could go on and on. I'm so excited for this climate shutdown wave of actions week. We have quite a few things going on. Super excited. And then on Sunday, we have a huge march going on. We're expecting thousands of people, and we're hoping many can join us. It is going to be at 1 o'clock this Sunday, September 17th, here in New York City, starting at 56th and Broadway. So I'm really hoping that people can join us to bring awareness and to show these huge corporations how serious we are, that they need to end this brutalization against humanity and Mother Earth by using these fossil fuels. And not only that, we really have to be careful, because we can't have these same people using these false green solutions to further this green colonialism. So we must stop the green colonialism, and we must stop these people altogether from profiting off the suffering and oppression and harm of others. And so
Yes.
we have Charlotte here, who is also fighting a huge mine up in Michigan, Talon Metal. And we hit BlackRock yesterday. Yeah.
Yes. You were.
Who invests in extraction and extortion mining.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about BlackRock and why it's so important that they change, or we change what they're doing?
BlackRock is one of the top 2 investors in Rio Tinto. And on top of that, BlackRock also owns like 1/3 of the world's wealth. So they control everything, and they are investing in these projects that, 1, we don't need, and 2, are causing this climate chaos.
So you and your fellows have been very active in battling pipelines across your nation. Could you give us a little history of the fights you've already been in, and update us on what's happening now with those struggles?
Certainly. I'm going to delve into Line 3 real quick, because Line 3 is going through nearly half of North America's freshwater. And that is super scary, because they're shoving toxic tar sands oil through that pipeline, through 22 river crossings, more than 200 bodies of water. Not only that, it's the last of Canada's oil flowing through that pipeline. Many are speculating that they are looking for a new way to make money. And so since water became a commodity on Wall Street, around the same time, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz approved of the permits for Line 3. It's super scary, because Enbridge didn't even need to leak oil to poison our water. They already were able to by fracking out. They fracked out toxic chemicals into all of our rivers by shoving this tar sands oil pipeline underneath our rivers. And so what happened is that when they leaked these frack out chemicals, our fish developed blisters and died. And we saw it firsthand in the Mississippi River. And that's why, it's really important that we get the word out about this, is because, like I said, not only were they able to poison our water by the frack outs, they punctured many aquifers. They breached many aquifers. That's our groundwater. That's the water we survive on. And so they not only punched these aquifers, they fracked out toxic chemicals, and it pushed and caused just even more chaos. And so even today, in those areas, Enbridge says they cleaned it up, but they haven't. We have volunteer citizens working tirelessly to collect our own data to present to the DNR and all those other people that need to be informed. So we had over 1,000 arrests resisting Line 3. And one thing that I follow and help with is dropping the charges and court support. So we help people who were arrested, and we give them any support that they may need, and bring awareness to the continuing injustice that is unfolding. Enbridge was able to poison our water supply. Like I said, Line 3 is going through nearly half of North America's freshwater, which is really, really super scary, especially with all the water concerns we have nowadays. 1/3 of the world's population is facing water scarcity. But we did have a success today, a super success with our Drop the Charges campaign. 3 Indigenous leaders of the Line 3 resistance, and all 3 of them were also camp leaders. Their charges were dropped, and they were charged through mail by evidence collected on Facebook. And so the attorneys made an astounding plea, and the judge understood and dismissed it. And it was a big, huge win for us, because we've seen so many injustices unfold in the court systems. Why isn't Enbridge being held for poisoning our water and our land and destroying our livelihoods and our futures for our children and 7 generations before us? We've seen this happen in front of our eyes. And so we can't allow these corporations, these CEOs, these financiers, these investors cause this chaos any longer.
So there's it's obviously an incredible variety of peoples that find themselves at this climate march. There's over 500 organizations participating that have endorsed or are present, or will be present on the 17th for your protest. Are you connected with any of those groups?
So, we should all be connected. This is a fight that we all need to be fighting. All of our livelihoods are at stake, and the only group I'm connected with is Honor the Earth. And we came here to support and to help bring awareness in this movement, and to help the movement and what's going on.
Oh, well, the Pipeline 5 is going through Wisconsin and Michigan, going through reservations, but the main area we're focused on is the Mackinac Bridge between Upper and Lower Peninsula. And it's like way older than it should be. 60 plus years old, and it could bust and break at any time. They went and fixed some of the anchors on that pipeline, but we want more. It could leak into these Great Lakes, and this is the last fresh body of water that's clean in the whole world, these waters. And our ancestors and our tradition says one day water is going to be worth more than gold for us,
right?
Because it's going to be so scarce and unclean. And that brings me back to Rio Tinto and how much they poison the waters over in Europe and all the places they mined over there. And I just feel like they're coming over here and trying to destroy our world and our water. And I'm a Native American water protector. I do water ceremony, and we can't have this. We just can't. It's just sickening because they're taking all of that mining rock and they're crushing it and they're bringing it up into the air and the water. They're exposed to all these different chemicals that are mixing in the sludge of yuck that is polluting and has been polluting for many, many years, because up in the copper country, they mined iron ore and copper and nickel, and they did it's called stamp sand that's left from them crushing this rock. Well, they just dumped it right by the water, and now it's like going through all of Lake Superior, and it's contaminating still today mercury levels and all this other bad stuff, and it's in our fish, and we can't even eat maybe 2 fish a month, and pregnant women can only eat 1 if they even want to, because that poison. So
Thanks. And then the second question was, what organizations are you connected with that are participating in the protest?
I am with Honor the Earth, and I am, part of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. We did start up a camp in 2010, fighting Rio Tinto, in Big Bay, Michigan, by Marquette. We set up a treaty camp for 5.5 weeks, and eventually got arrested. And they proceeded with that mine, but we did stop the highway going through our wetlands, and they have to go miles and miles out of their way to go to the mill to process their stuff. But we had a win and a lose, but we started a ripple effect throughout Native country.
Yeah, that's the kind of narrative that we want to push forward. If someone were to decide today to try to make it to New York City this Sunday for the march, for the protest, could you give them any advice? Any motivation?
Advice. yeah, like, do you care about your future of your water? Do you care about your grandchildren's future for their water? You know, we cannot live without water. Our body is 98% water. Like, if we don't have water in 4 days, we're going to die.
Right.
Just like that. So why are we not protecting our water? Get here and protect our water, please. Oil and water don't mix, and this mining stuff is just going to keep polluting and making it worse. And all those, everything's going to China. Like, why are we giving so much to China? What is going on here? You know? So,
Gina, any thoughts about advice on someone making it to the protest?
just come with an open mind. We are very kind, generous. We are loving. We'll open arms. We'll bring you in and, just help you out if you have any concerns. If you need a hug, we're there for you, man. And we have so much support here.
Yeah, we're all in it together. Yep.
Oh, and then you don't have to worry about jail too much, because we got bail support. We have people on the ground to help you when you get out, and they're just so beautiful. Everybody's beautiful here. Beautiful. Kind hearts.
Can I give some advice?
Yep.
Oh, okay. The CEOs and executives and investors, they're killing us for profit. Big oil and their banks get rich and we die. So please come take space with us and show them that we no longer will tolerate them destroying our planet and our livelihoods. And that's all you need to do is just come take space peacefully, in a non-violent manner, and come in a good way, and just join us, because it's going to take all of us to come together to stop them. Like I said, even just BlackRock owns 1/3 of the world's wealth, and that shouldn't be happening. You have over half of full-time working Americans unable to afford a one-bedroom apartment. Well, fossil fuel companies made trillions of dollars last year. Make that make sense. And we can change it by standing together and showing them that we will no longer tolerate this.
All right, so last name is Rivera. So for Sunday, we have thousands of people coming from across the U.S., and we're showing and letting President Biden know that we're not staying quiet no more. We're actually standing up, fighting back. Like for the action today, we got 25 people arrested. At Citibank alone, I was one of the arrestees. There's videos and social media platforms talking about events coming for Sunday. And I would love for more family members to come out and support what we're doing here in New York and showing solidarity with every Indigenous person out there, because I'm also Indigenous. I am Taína from Puerto Rico. So I would love for what I say, my family as in Indigenous groups coming together, showing that besides regular people, New Yorkers, that he is fighting every day against climate change with these corporates and really listen to what's going on. I'm one of the frontliners that went through a lot of stuff. For an example, with Sandy when it hit New York, with Hurricane Maria that hit Puerto Rico. We also had the smokes from Canada when there was wildfires. There's also stuff going on in Maui that's going on, that billions of people died. We want these corporate greedy people and to stop funding fossil fuels, start going green. And the march on Sunday is to let President Biden know, to make it a real climate emergency, not only for us Indigenous people, not only for New Yorkers, not only for anybody coming from their states, but for our kids, for our grandkids, for our future. Because we want our future to see animals that are going extinct because of wildfires, of the 1%ers that want to go gaining as you could say, like hunting just for fun and just killing our animals for no reason. So we want these 1%ers to know that we're not staying quiet no more. We're actually standing up, fighting back, and we got thousands of people coming on Sunday. I would love to see our people up there in the front lines saying, we're not staying quiet no more. We're fighting for our waters. We're fighting for our lands. Mother Earth is crying, and we need to let these people know that we're fighting for our Mother Earth. So I just want to add and say that I would love for our community to come together as Indigenous people, showing solidarity across the nation on Sunday, September 17th.
Well,
you
thanks.
can find us at 56 and Broadway.
Well, thanks so much for your words from the heart. And that's a report from New York City in preparation for the protest going on this Sunday. You can find more information about this and future events at climatemarch.org.
For a Green Future is also brought to you by the Wood County Park District. The Wood County Park District is a natural resources conservation agency. They protect natural spaces, maintain quality green spaces, provide engaging programming, and they teach people to love and respect nature. They also restore wildlife habitats and lead people on outdoor adventures. Wood County Parks protects natural spaces in Wood County for all to enjoy from 8 a.m. to 30 minutes past sunset every day of the year. There are several ways to get a hold of them and find out what's happening. One is to call them at 419-353-1897. Another is to visit their website, www.wcparks.org. The website again is www.wcparks.org. They are also available on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and many others. Just search for WC Parks. That's the Wood County Park District, and we're very grateful for their support.
All right, Rebecca, your turn at the mic. What do you have for us this week?
Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and lead with the number you can call with corrections or comments because I'm talking about something I don't know that much about this week. The number for that would be 419-973-5841. If you want to correct anything I said, which I may get some stuff wrong conceivably, or, if you want to expand on this, go ahead.
Or if you have any other comments about the whole show.
Random stuff. Vaguely relating to nature. Anyway, yeah, I want to do something about Rosh Hashana, which is coming up. I believe it starts sundown on Friday. So we're already in the part, I think you're supposed to do the, Selichot or Slishot, prayers of repentance. Prayers and hymns of repentance first. So we're already supposed to be doing that.
Right.
In order to get ready for Rosh Hashana. But yeah, Rosh Hashana takes place on the 9:15, from 9:15 to 9:17, roughly. So it's kind of like Friday, Saturday, part of Sunday. And it's in the month of Tishri, which is called the Tishrul. I think it's Tishri. Okay. Yeah. Its name means in Hebrew the month of beginnings, because it's also the new year, and although there are several beginnings in the Hebrew calendar, it doesn't have just one. You can just jump in at any point. Apparently, there's also like the spring holiday is obviously a time of beginnings too. So
Classical.
and actually, because the name for month is Kodesh, which means new moon. Because all the months start at the new moon, and it's significant because apparently that signifies that it is a new beginning every month. Like everything is sort of made new and replenished.
Based on the lunar cycle.
Yeah, which is a good way of looking at it, I think. But yeah, so there's more than one first month of the year. The word is for the, I think Tishrei is the Babylonian word for harvest, or maybe that's Elul. Actually, the month before that is Elul. This is the part I may have got wrong, because Elul is the part where you do the prayers of repentance and preparation, and one of those is the harvest. I think pretty soon after you get into Rosh Hashana, the harvest is over. So it's supposed to consider to be a time to ask forgiveness of creation, it's forgiveness, repentance, prayers, and making amends, generally fasting, and charity, I believe. And it's done. If I'm right about this, which I might not be, at the end of it, at Yom Kippur, if you've done a good enough job of making up for all the crappy things you did this year, your name goes in the book of life, and you get something good next year. Which really interests me, because when you talk to people, they're all, Sukkot. Sukkot is the harvest festival. That's all about, changing of seasons and things. But okay, I don't think it's an accident. It doesn't feel like an accident to me that the high holidays are this other stuff. The New Year's is during the harvest season, because the harvest is literally when a farmer finds out how well did I do last year,
right?
And how am I going to do next year in terms of have I got enough to make it through the winter? Have I got enough to plant seed next spring? So I mean, it is very much it's when you assess how you're doing materially. It comes from a time when most people were in fact farmers.
It's closer to the historical, New Year setting as opposed to the middle of winter, which doesn't make much sense.
Know. Well, the sun's very tiny then. But yeah, so it seems to me like somebody just kind of took that and made it sort of more of a spiritual, ethical thing, from just being about how much have we got in the silo. But yeah, I mean, there's this important central truth to that, which is what we do now affects the future and our fate. And sometimes we need to stop and take extra time to think about it. So, it's a kind of way to think about what kind of person do you want to do and what's stopping you. Also, there's apparently some degree a tradition of mourning the dead, just like in, Celtic Halloween. So that makes sense. Sometimes you need that to move on and, do the future and things. So yeah, we think the name of the month comes from Babylonian captivity, or which is sometimes called the second beginning of fall, or not the Babylonian. Yeah, Tishrei is the second beginning. This is the second beginning. The first one's in the spring. So yeah, you're supposed to look up. I believe I read this on a website actually done by a rabbi of some kind, but it's supposed to be the month of reflection, like over the past year, what am I proud of? What do I do regret? What must I ask forgiveness for? Whom must I forgive? What can I release? And what do I want to embrace in the coming year? So
sounds like a good ritual regardless of religion.
It really does. It's a fair amount of common sense creeps into religion, sometimes by mistake, sometimes on purpose, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so in the spirit of this, I put a question out on Facebook. Does anyone who considers themselves culturally, religiously Jewish have any thoughts about the Jewish high holidays, the environment, or just feelings of connection to the natural world and the changing of season that it arouses? Okay. My friend Helen Grubb said more or less Sukkot is all about harvest, which is true. It is the main harvesty holiday. Also, Libby Halevi, I believe. I'm sorry, Libby. She mentioned that she's big into the concept of tikkun olam. I think it's an M. Yeah. And she commented, tikkun olam, heal the world. Any day, every day. I fight against the nuclear menace with a weekly podcast, nuclearhotseat.com. I was born Jewish and never deny that part of myself, but I don't do Jewish ceremony anymore. But the tenets of healing, community, love for Earth and life itself, that's where I put my energy and efforts. And she also has a website, www.nuclearhotseat.com. So that was very nice and meaningful, I think.
Yeah.
And then let's see, my friend Bill Dole said, yes, the High Holy Days are a good reminder to think about such things. It's part of the Reconstructionist Jewish liturgy. There are also Jewish organizations that focus on this, something called Deyunul comes to mind. Deyunul? I don't know. Rachel Richardson commented that she likes apples and honey, which is good. Nothing wrong with apples and honey. I guess they're traditional because they give you a sweet New Year, or hope with that. And my friend Mark Stephen Mannheim said, culturally Jewish, every day for me is Yom Kippur, simply meaning that I try my hardest in different areas of interest every day. Is protecting the environment one of these areas? Not as it should be. I don't really know how to approach it in practical terms or how willing I am to make big sacrifices to do so. I attended something called E.N. Rhodes simulation recently, which made me think, but it didn't change my behavior all that month. So that's pretty honest. A lot of us do is, just start somewhere, pick
Right.
somewhere and start, basically. You're not going to get perfect. It's okay.
Yeah, you can struggle on deciding what action to take, but doing an action is better. So as long as you start by doing anything.
There's no wrong place to start. Virtually no wrong place. Oh, okay, nuclear energy. Wrong place to start. And then my friend
Luckily that's harder to get into.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But yeah, Yuri Mark Bernstein commented, I have not been a practicing Jew for many years, but in my early years I was a practicing Jew. I do not consider cycles of the seasons or trends of the earth climate much in relationship to the high holidays. Now that you ask, it seems an admission that I did not. So, yeah.
Even more self-reflection.
Yes, indeed. So, very much in the spirit. So, yeah, that was what I got in answer to that. And it was pretty nice. It was kind of a range.
Yeah.
And now it's time for our Ecological News segment. Our guests this week have said they view the fight for clean drinking water as a major reason for their activism and a crucial and ongoing struggle for our future. In our first story tonight, we are disappointed to report that your drinking water might not be as safe as you would hope. This story comes from Danny Kington from the Athens County Independent in Athens County, Ohio. 4 fracking waste injection wells have temporarily shut down by direct order of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, citing a, quote, imminent danger to health and the environment. A fracking waste injection well, or a Class 2 well, when it functions correctly, is supposed to put the toxic wastewater from other mining operations back into the ground and keep it separate from the surrounding groundwater. So, when it doesn't work correctly, like with these 4 wells, that brine spreads underground and can be sucked up back to the surface through other wells or subterranean operations. Now, this is a situation with many layers, and we can't cover, for example, all the reasons why fracking is evil, short-sighted, unpopular, and driven purely by greed and profit. What we will cover is what's happening right now and what the fracking industry is doing to cover it up. First of all, merely the fact that the operations of these wells are suspended by the Ohio DNR is literally unprecedented. For years, the Ohio DNR has been shown to have no backbone and no teeth, allowing the destruction of our state by private corporations to continue unchallenged. So, for them to step in and take any action as a regulatory body, this situation must practically be a disaster zone. Next, the companies involved, Reliable Enterprises and K&H Partners, are intentionally keeping the composition of their wastewater undisclosed, citing industry secrets. However, records requests have shown their brine to have radioactive elements, PFAS, and other forever chemicals. These contaminants may end up in the personal well water supply of Athens County residents. In fact, they've been found up to 2 miles away from the original drilling sites. This propagation of pollution is made more complicated by the many concurrent injections into the local geology, with one source claiming the shale there is holier than Swiss cheese. Of course, both of these companies have attempted to grow their profit even while under these restrictions by requesting permission to install new Class II wells. K&H is even challenging their injunction in court. It bears repeating, though, the public has always been against fracking. These particular wells drew ire back in 2011 when they were first proposed. Last week, we reported about public lands now being accessible to fracking, so these stories about drinking water contamination might become commonplace if we don't stop it. That's why it's so important for you to make your voice known. Like our guests this week have said, every fight, every cause we take up is interconnected, and this one is too close to home to ignore. Our next story is a quick report on an industry adjacent to electric vehicles. Giles Parkinson for reneweconomy.com.au reported on the sharp decline of battery cell prices in August. The analyst group Benchmark Lithium noted that prices for lithium-ion cells fell 8.7%, falling below $100 per kilowatt-hour for the first time since the higher demands of the 2021 pandemic. The current $98 price point is down a full 33% from the high of $146 in March of last year. If the price of lithium-ion battery packs ever reaches as low as $80 per kilowatt-hour, that would signify a major tipping point in the pursuit of electric vehicle mass production. At that price, it would be as cheap to produce EVs as those that run on petrol or diesel. And, of course, cheaper battery packs have other uses for portable electronics, as well as solar or other energy sources that require storage to operate off hours at peak efficiency. One reason for this drop in price is the falling price of battery metals, lithium, nickel, and cobalt, due to China's recent efforts at increasing production in those sectors. However, the continual mining for these resources do take a significant toll on the environment. This is a good trend to follow and support for the short to medium term, but we'll continue to hope that other energy storage methods become popular or more cost-effective. According to our next story, published in France West on September 12th, more than 1,000 scientists from many different disciplines, physicists, doctors, mathematicians, engineers, anthropologists, archaeologists, and others have all agreed that Macron's plan to relaunch the French nuclear industry must be opposed. The call to fight the relaunch was made this past summer by two groups, the Association for Scientific Information on Nuclear Energy and Global Chance, an NGO run by Bernard Laponche, a doctor and nuclear physicist who was a past member of France's own Atomic Energy Commission. The open letter lists many problems the nuclear industry is currently facing, such as the corrosion problem that led to half the nuclear fleet being shut down last year at the height of the summer demand. Laponche points out that the cause of that corrosion is still not fully understood. Other challenges include problems with welds, concrete, and steel at the Flamanville EPR nuclear plant, the routine radioactive pollution emitted by nuclear plants which are, quote, more serious than Fukushima, and the fact that plants designed to last 30 years are being proposed to run for 60. Dr. Mariette Gerber, epidemiologist and researcher at INSERM, the National Institute of Health and Medical Research, points out that because of the new INWORKS study we have reported on previously, that shows low-level radiation is many times more dangerous than it has been believed for decades, It is now impossible to contest the proven fact that exposure to low levels of radiation causes cancer. Another signatory, Maxime Leisner, railed against Macron, mocking him by saying he considers himself a new de Gaulle by blocking democratic debate or discussion over Macron's plan to relaunch the country's bankrupt nuclear industry. It does seem nonsensical that France is pursuing the slowest, most dangerous, and most expensive form of energy at a time when wind and solar are taking over the bulk of electricity generation around the world. One thing this open letter does prove is that France is not the pro-nuclear monolith it has the reputation for being. There are cracks in Macron's radioactive armor. For our last story, a coalition of the smallest island nations that continue to suffer the most from global warming and sea level rise have now gone to the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in Germany. They will be attempting to prove that the carbon dioxide that is absorbed by the oceans should be considered pollution. The oceans are the Earth's biggest carbon sinks, absorbing 25% of carbon emissions. However, absorbing that much CO2 is damaging the oceans in turn. It's making them more acidic. It can also cause algal blooms that release methane into the atmosphere. Methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. If the Commission of Small Island States on Climate Change and International Law wins their case, then all the signatories to the UN treaty creating the Law of the Sea would be bound to treat carbon dioxide as a pollutant. Emissions would have to be reduced, and steps would have to be taken by the polluting countries to repair the damage already caused. The Prime Minister of Tuvalu points out that, quote, entire marine and coastal ecosystems are dying in waters that are becoming warmer and more acidic. Their case is based on the well-established legal principles prohibiting transboundary harm. For example, countries are not allowed to have chimneys that produce toxic chemicals which cross a border to contaminate a neighboring country. CO2 has not historically been classified as a pollutant, like dioxin or mercury have, but the storms, floods, and heat waves caused by the CO2 in the atmosphere are just as deadly, points out the lead counsel for the island nations, Paya Akavan. Quote, some of these states will become uninhabitable and many will be submerged under the sea, said Akavan. We will be following this story closely in the future. Well, that's it for our show. You can tune in again with us next week for more ecological news and wisdom.
I don't want no oil, a spoil in my shoreline. I like fish much better than crud. I like birds and things, creeping and crawling. Won't trade no more oil for blood. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that black demon oil's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. I don't want them nukes run by them kooks who think radioactivity is fun. No more three-headed frogs or kids with leukemia. Nuclear power ain't fit for a dog. The sun done give us all we need to make this country run. But that nuclear power's got us fussing and fighting, and I do believe it's time we was done. No nukes!